The purple chair had seen countless moments, celebrity meltdowns, red-faced denials, surprise revelations, even a few walk-offs that made daytime TV history. But the air in the Wendy Williams studio today felt different, heavier, sharper, like the entire room could sense a storm before the first flash of lightning cracked through. The audience had been warmed up. The applause signs were glowing, and the band's intro music rolled through the space like a warning siren. Backstage whispers said Wendy was in rare form today, rested, focused, and very much ready. And her guest? Well, her guest walked in with the energy of someone who believed every question was an insult and every interviewer was a burden. The lights shifted. The camera swung into its mark. Wendy slid into her purple throne, hair flawless, eyes bright and dangerous. She turned to the camera and smiled the smile she only used when she expected trouble. "Okay," she purred, stretching the word like silk pulled thin. "Our next guest, you know her. Everybody knows her. Everybody's got an opinion about her." The audience leaned forward. They knew exactly who she meant. Actress, duchess, podcast star, book writer, California girl. She paused just long enough to let the anticipation sharpen. "Please welcome Meghan Markle." The applause erupted, but something underneath it buzzed. Curiosity, skepticism, fascination, and a little apprehension. Meghan stepped out from behind the curtain, in a navy dress tailored for confidence and heels that clicked like a countdown. Her hair fell in glossy waves, makeup immaculate, posture regal enough to remind everyone she once held a title. She waved once, tight, minimal, almost like she wished she could skip the ceremony altogether. Wendy stood to greet her, arms open. "Meghan," she said brightly, "welcome to the show." Meghan hugged her, a hug that looked like rehearsal, not connection, and settled into the guest chair. "Hi, Wendy," she said with a small forced smile. "Interesting to be here." Wendy's brow twitched. Interesting, not exciting, not wonderful, just interesting. That was step one. "How you doing?" Wendy asked. The audience cheered on cue. Meghan crossed her legs, chin slightly raised. "I'm fine, busy, a lot going on." "Oh, we know," Wendy replied without missing a beat. "We talk about you a lot here." "Don't we, audience?" The crowd laughed. Meghan's smile stiffened. "I've noticed," she said coolly. "Everyone has something to say about me." "Well, you live a public life," Wendy said simply. "You married into the most famous family on earth, then left, then made documentaries and podcasts. People talk." "There's curiosity," Meghan replied. "And then there's obsession." A ripple of oohs swept the audience. Wendy only grinned. "Let's start simple," she said. "How's life back in America?" "California treating you well?" Meghan folded her hands. "America is tolerable." The word landed like cold water. At least people pretend they care about individuality here. Less bowing. Wendy blinked. "Tolerable?" "Not the glowing endorsement I expected." The audience chuckled. Meghan didn't. "I'm not here to sugarcoat. People get enough fairy tales." "Speaking of fairy tales," Wendy said, "how's Harry doing?" Meghan's jaw tightened. "Harry is exactly where he needs to be. Away from all of that. That being an institution that treats people like symbols," she said flatly. "He's recovering. We both are." "But the spotlight here is different," Wendy said. "You left one stage and built another." "It's survival," Meghan shot back. "We had to create our own opportunities after being cut off." The audience shifted, some supportive, some skeptical. Wendy leaned in. "My audience is smart. They understand nuance. But they also know struggle isn't the same for everyone." Meghan sighed sharply. "With respect, I think people should be intelligent, enough to understand that pain isn't a competition." "True," Wendy said. "But perception matters. To many, it looks like you talk about suffering while living in a mansion." Meghan's voice sharpened. "So I'm not allowed to acknowledge my experience unless I'm living on the street? Is that the rule?" "I never said that," Wendy replied calmly. "I'm just asking if you see how the optics play." Meghan leaned forward, gaze cold. "I understand that people love determining how much pain someone else is allowed to feel. That's what I understand." The room tightened. Wendy exhaled slowly. Let's talk about Harry again. We see the headlines, the polo matches, the events. Is he happy? Truly? Yes, Meghan said. Too quickly, too sharply. He made a choice. A grown man choice. He left something. Toxic. Some people still remember him as that little boy walking behind. And that's the problem, Meghan cut in. People cling to a fantasy of him instead of seeing who he is. Silence. Even the air seemed to pause. Wendy took her time before her next question. You've told your side, she said carefully. Do you think there's anything you could have done differently? Meghan laughed once, a laugh with no humor. It's cute to think smiling more could have fixed centuries of dysfunction. No, Wendy, I wouldn't change my truth. More murmurs. Uneasy ones. Wendy sensed it. All right, she said. Your kids. How's mom life? A gentle question. Meghan rejected it instantly. My children are not for public consumption. I just asked how they are, Wendy said slowly. That's a normal question. Maybe normal isn't good enough. Meghan snapped. People act like they're entitled to our private lives. You put them in documentaries, Wendy countered gently. That's storytelling, Meghan said, annoyed. Not permission to pry. A thicker silence now. Wendy pressed her lips together. Let's talk about the fatigue headlines, she said. People say they're tired of the drama, Meghan smirked. They can change the channel. Do you ever worry they will? Wendy asked softly. And won't come back? Something flickered across Meghan's face. Annoyance or fear, hard to tell. No, she said, because people want the truth. And I'm one of the few willing to say it. Some clapped. Some didn't. Okay, Wendy said. Her tone had cooled. Let's get into the big one. Your relationship with the royal family. One word. Non-existent, Meghan replied instantly. The audience gasped. Non-existent? They live in their world. I live in mine. Any sadness? Sadness requires effort from the other side, Meghan said. I won't mourn what was never real. The crowd reacted again, louder now, divided. Wendy nodded slowly. Some people say you didn't just close the door. You burned the house down. Meghan's smile was razor thin. If telling the truth feels like fire, maybe they shouldn't have built their house from lies. Explosive. The audience erupted. Wendy waited it out, then lowered her voice. Let's talk Hollywood. Rumor has it you're planning a big comeback. I evolve, Meghan said. I don't know confirmations. You've been in meetings, Wendy pressed. People talk. Are you returning to acting? Meghan took a beat, calculating. I'm returning to myself. That's all. Do you feel like you're fighting to stay relevant? Wendy asked. The temperature in the room dropped instantly. Meghan's eyes iced over. No, she said. I feel like people can't handle a woman they can't control. Wendy inhaled. I've interviewed a lot of celebrities, she said calmly. The ones who last know you can't talk at people. Forever. Meghan's face hardened. Is this where you lecture me? I didn't come here to be scolded by daytime TV. Gasps. Actual real gasps. Wendy's spine straightened. Daytime TV, she said, voice level, is watched by millions. People who streamed your shows, bought your books, woke up at dawn to watch your wedding. They're not props. They're spectators, Meghan corrected. And spectators don't shape the game. That landed like a slap. Wendy's smile disappeared. Just vanished. Let's talk comparisons, she said tightly. People compare you to Catherine, to Diana, to actresses, to other black women. Does it bother you? Meghan laughed sharply. Comparisons are tools. They pit women against each other. Catherine plays the quiet balcony doll. I was never going to be that. So they made me the villain. A loud wave of reactions hit the room. Wendy steadied herself. You brought up Catherine. There have been rumors of tension, stories left hanging. So let me ask. She paused just long enough to make every person in the room lean in. If Catherine were sitting in this chair instead of you, what would you say to her? Meghan didn't blink. I'd tell her she had a choice, she said. She could have been a real ally instead of a palace puppet. She let silence do their dirty work. The room broke into chaos, gasps, shouts, stunned laughter. Wendy held up her hand, but the noise barely settled. That's a strong accusation, she said. Truth isn't an accusation, Meghan replied. Truth just makes guilty people uncomfortable. Wendy stared at her. Really stared. Meghan, she said carefully, do you hear how you sound right now? Meghan tilted her head. Honest? No, Wendy said softly. Detached, condescending, like everyone who disagrees with you is beneath. You! Meghan's eyes flashed. I'm sorry if the truth intimidates people. There it is again, Wendy said. That superiority, that tone. Meghan leaned forward, voice colder than ever. And I'm sorry if humility is everyone else's costume. It's not mine. The audience noise surged again. Wendy raised her voice to cut through it. Let me ask you something real, she said. Because my audience wants real. Do you genuinely believe you've done nothing wrong? Not one misstep? Meghan didn't hesitate. I believe I survived. That's not an answer, Wendy said. It's the only one that matters. Wendy looked at her guest, this woman who had walked in expecting control and left no room for vulnerability, and she made a decision. Let me tell you something, she said, her voice low but firm. You think people are obsessed with you, but what they're really reacting to is that you never bend, you never admit, you never say, maybe I pushed too hard, maybe I misread, maybe I hurt people too. Meghan's stare sharpened like glass. Women don't owe the world apologies for existing. No, Wendy said, but they owe the world authenticity. And right now, they're not feeling it. Meghan opened her mouth, then closed it. The first crack in her armor, small but real. Wendy saw it. The audience saw it, and Meghan felt it. We're out of time, Wendy said finally, though everyone knew that wasn't the real reason she was ending. But Meghan, thank you for being here. Meghan stood before Wendy finished the sentence. She didn't storm. Storming would acknowledge impact. She rose with stiff elegance, gave the briefest nod to the audience, and walked off stage with her heels clicking like punctuation marks. The studio held its breath. Wendy watched her leave, exhale slipping out like a truth of its own. Then she turned to the camera, eyes steady. Well, she said, drawing the word out. There you have it. The audience burst, some cheering, some buzzing, some still stunned silent. Wendy gave a tight smile. We'll be right back. The band played, but the tension didn't lift. The fuse had burned all the way down, and the explosion? Millions would replay it for years. Meghan didn't get the adoration she expected. Wendy didn't back down. And when entitlement met a woman who'd built an empire on calling people out, the world finally saw what happened. Only one walked away unshaken, and it wasn't the Duchess.